What up, what up, what up? Y'all know what it is, man. It's another edition of the ATL3 Style Live podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Leo G, and out there to the south side, I got my boy Banks. What's up, Banks?
Yeah, what's going on, Leo? Leo, what's going on, people out there in the internet world? How y'all feeling?
Man, I hope everybody is good. Everybody is chilling as we go live on this Tuesday, July the 28th, man. We are in the thick of summer. Banks, I hate to tell you this, but it ain't over. It, it ain't over, brother. It ain't over. We in it now, man. Woo, we in it to win it. And as of course you know, here in Georgia, man, we can go all the way. We can go all the way to October, November for this thing start to cool on down, man. But we in the thick of it here, man, in Georgia. You know, them 90-degree days, waking up in the morning, man, just it feel like this you walking into just humidity like a steam shower, man.
Man, it's officially swamp ass weather. That's what we call it down here. So listen, hey man, like I said, my tagline, we hot down here, brother. I mean, it's 199 degrees out there, and that's just in the morning, and you don't want to do nothing. And they had a nerve to want to start training camp, like people gonna actually show up. Well, that's a whole nother topic. Maybe people will show up, but not this black guy right here, because we stay in AC around here.
Hey man, you done got soft in your old age, man. What's wrong with you, dog? You used
Well,
to
you
go up.
call it what you
Listen,
want.
man.
Call it what you want. I don't care. Old man, I don't give a flip. But we
Hey
we we
man,
like
listen,
central air around here.
listen. You used to love it. You used to go up. Listen, man, we old school with it. We remember the Swanee days of training camp with our Atlanta Falcons, man.
Been
The
there,
old
done
Swanee Inn
that.
up there.
Been
You
there,
know, that's
done that.
you know, that's what that's our old school with it, and that's how we are when it comes to talking about training camp and getting ready. And I go back to my high school days, man. Doing 2 a days, 3 days, man. I don't think the heat then is the heat we experiencing now. There's some different heat, man. Because I was like, either
No.
that or we did, like I said, I could tolerate it better, man. But man,
I
whoo,
don't
it is
understand how
hot
we
out
how we
there.
did it back then, but we did it. For some reason, we did it. We went outside and played as younger kids, and it would be hot in the middle of summer, and we didn't think nothing about it. Now it's like I wish I would go outside just to go to the mailbox. Are you nuts? No, bro. And you talking about going to some training camp to sit on a hill and get blacker? I'm good, bro. I'm good.
Hey man, listen, I don't so I don't my schedule will not permit me to make it up that way this year, but obviously I have been there in the past. It's something to experience. I think for every Falcons fan, if you haven't made that trip up there to Flowery Branch to check out a training camp, man, that you should do it at least once, maybe twice. But yeah, like you said, Banks, it is hot sitting on that hill, like it's not the best of conditions. They need to let everybody inside the indoor facility, you know what I'm saying? And let us watch them practice in there. But that's where they had the real practices. The stuff that they do out there outside is just, they going through the motions, in my opinion. They be getting ready for the real deal when they do the 2 or 3 days. Have they do camp up there in Flowery Branch with the NFL, man. But we'll get to that in just a minute, Banks. You know how we do it, man. Before we get any further, man, we got to shout out our partner, man. Go ahead and shout out our boy Phil.
Yeah, check out my boy Phil at Eastland Woodworking Company. This man does good, amazing work on your needs. Something like, something personalized, like a coaster or a plaque or even an ashtray, anything that you want done. Something like this, for an example, you can have your initials on your favorite sports team. Anything you got coming up. Hey, football season is here. Get your football team carved and something that you can memorialize, like in your man cave or anything, personal to you. Hit that QR
Hey,
code
man.
and tell them we sent you.
Hit him up, man. Hit our boy Phil up, man. And once again, man, we've been gone for a little minute, man, but we still open to, if you got product that you want to advertise on the show, man, come on and do it. Also, man, if you want to be a sponsor of the show, come on, hit us up. Many multiple avenues to hit us up, man. If you want to actually sponsor the show, man, we'll put your logo prominently up on the screen as we record, man. So be on the lookout, Banks, for that as well, man. We need some sponsors out here, man, to help us push this thing on through. And ladies and gentlemen, listen, we know we were in the studio together, you know what I'm saying, a couple of podcasts earlier on. this year. We are going to do that again. I know a couple of people's like, man, y'all was in the studio together. I said, yeah, we were. I said, it's busy, but we're gonna get back to it, man. So y'all be looking on the lookout for that, on location, maybe doing some videos on location. I know we got tailgates coming up here. We 43 days out from the NFL season. Well, I'm sorry, the regular season kickoff for the Falcons anyway, 43 days out. So roughly, you know what I'm saying, a little over a month before we get stuff up and going. Hall of Fame games going to kick off here, and I think just a week, if I'm not mistaken, and then we'll have a full slate of preseason games because the NFL is now upon us. Banks, we'll talk about the Falcons here in just a minute, man. But listen, I know how you felt about soccer, and I know you fired it up and watched the World Cup, man. But listen, this for me was a great summer because we had a great kind of segue, man, right coming off of the NFL season into the NBA Finals, and then boom, we were right there into the World Cup, man. Every 4 years when the World Cup comes around, or even when you have an Olympic year, it's always fun to have something in the summer, right, to kind of cover that gap. Baseball is cool, but, sometimes it's like, hey, man, you get into the thick of baseball, they play 347 games. It's like, man, I want something different. So the World Cup was here. And like I said, it was enjoyed by all. It just closed out. If you did not know or were living under a rock, Spain ended up being the champs after they beat Argentina in extra time in the final up there at MetLife. Listen, I fully enjoyed the final. I fully enjoyed watching all the way down the stretch. Great games, great matches, and kudos to North America for hosting a great World Cup and being great World Cup hosts. And definitely shout out to the city of Atlanta for doing it bigger than I think. I'm biased, obviously, but they did it bigger than all the other cities that were actually involved in this World Cup, man. Spectacular games over at Atlanta Stadium, now back to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Banks, they turned that thing around so quick. We'll talk about that in a minute. But, man, just overjoyed and overwhelmed. And I missed it, after that after the stage, after they pulled the trophy up, man, I was like, damn, we got another 4 years before this comes back, man. So I missed it. I definitely did, man. But, Banks, I hope you did enjoy the time that you watched it. I hope you did enjoy it.
Yeah, I enjoyed for what I watched. I really, took in a lot of different cultures. When the African nations came through, man, it had my attention, my full undivided attention, especially Republic of Congo, really stole my heart, with their passion and with their, this to see them elated over just a goal, and I sat there and watched it all night long, different point of views of how they celebrate. And when they even came into our stadium, how they basically, it was a light blue all over that stadium. And it was like when they scored that goal here against, I think it was against England, I want to say, um, they say it was one of the loudest moments in that stadium ever. I'm like, whoa. I mean, we had some big, games in that stadium. Leo, we had SEC championships, we had college championships, we're Super Bowls, we had MLS
MLS
championships.
final. Yeah.
So, and you mean to tell me that goal was the loudest that stadium ever heard? That's incredible to me, incredible. And like I said, just that when you see stuff like that, and these people come, from all, from their country all the way to the city of Atlanta, and they walk our streets and they enjoy everything about Atlanta, and you hear the feedback how they just enjoyed the city, and then not to mention we sat there and we hosted, and that was their moment in our city. I guess I feel some type of way. They were in our city and had that moment, and that was something special to me. And kudos to all the rest of the African nations out there that came through. Cardi, the name escaped me. Is it Cabo Verde? Yeah. Uh, and also, different. I was what was the other African nation? Leo, help me out. Who
Man,
was else that came to
you
Atlanta?
had Cabo Verde. You had Cabo Verde. Now
Was
you
it
got me
Morocco?
drawing blank.
Was it
Yeah,
Morocco? Morocco.
Morocco. Yeah, Egypt. You
Listen,
also had Ivory Coast. The Republic of Congo, obviously. Several other Senegal. Ghana, several different African nations, man, that were
Listen,
represented here, man.
well, the thing is, what I was saying was, it was a pleasure to see all the different cultures that come through, and I sat there, even England, they came and played. They went to the Braves games, and they would sit in the center field, talking to Michael Harris,
Michael
and Michael
Harris. Yeah.
Harris was just enamored with that group. It was just something to see. Higgins, I see you, brother. It's nice to see you, brother. How you doing? How you doing, brother? But
Man, shout out our
yes.
boy Higgins, man.
Yes, I was really in tune with that, if anything else.
Man, listen, and this is what I tell people all the time, man. The World Cup, man, is nothing like any other thing in sports, right? I mean, whether you're a soccer fan or not, to see the passion, to see just, we talk about college football here, we talk about the NFL here, man, the pageantry of college football and how everybody gets excited and riled up for that. But I think on a just universal stage, right? Like World Cup is crazy. You can see them go to different countries and see just the emotion. You could feel the emotion from all of these nations as they watch their national team, um, play. I think it's just something extraordinary, man. For you know to see some of these countries and just the passion. Like I've never in my life, man. You scan up into the crowd, and I'm looking at grown men like crying like babies, from jubilation, right? You know what I'm saying? You see your favorite NFL team win a Super Bowl, man, you're gonna get a couple of claps and cheers, man. But you saw grown people crying, winning World Cup games, first time winning World Cup games, first time tying World Cup games, people moving into the round of 32 and 16, man. Just the emotion of it all, man. And just, how cool was that? Like you said, everybody just, feeling it, man, and having a good time, man. And like I said, we were great hosts here in North America, Mexico, Canada, and all the other cities that were involved, man. So definitely can't wait another 4 years. It's going to be very, very interesting. Obviously, another thing, Banks, is the president of FIFA had a long conversation with Arthur Blank, said that he very much so loved our city, very much so loved our facilities, and he wants to do something again here in Atlanta. So you got FIFA World Club Cup, you got a couple other things that FIFA does that will be going on. It's just, FIFA just doesn't shut down for 4 years until the World Cup comes around. There's a lot of different tournaments and a lot of different things that'll be played moving up to the next World Cup in 2030. And that's going to be interesting, Banks, because I don't know if you knew this or not, but there's going to be several nations again actually hosting. I think it's going to be a total of 4 continents, if I'm not mistaken. You're going to have games in Morocco, Spain, Portugal, Paraguay, and Argentina, if I'm not mistaken. That's how it's going to be in 2030. And then also looking at I think the women's World Cup is coming up here pretty soon. Also looking at the women maybe coming back here to the States when it's time for them to make the picture bid again in another 4 years to see where the women's World Cup will end up, man. So a lot of stuff going on, man, with soccer and FIFA. So it's going to come back. It's going to return, Banks. We'll see it again. Hopefully it'll be here, man, and maybe we'll be able to experience it again, man. And this time, I'm not going to miss out. I'm going to be in the building. I'm going to be in the building, Banks.
Yeah, it's one of the things that you got to catch. You know what I'm saying? When it came through, a lot of people was kind of, I guess, kind of they bought in kind of too late. A lot of people was like, "What's this all about?" And then when they realized how cool it was so far gone, and it was like, "Oh, man, can't get a ticket now." So yeah, I think next time, I'm pretty sure people will be all on board because, like I said, a lot of people didn't know what it was. People just thought it was just another soccer game. Going by what other people were saying. You have to really explain to what it was all about. So yeah, I mean, I feel like once it come back again, get your tickets, brother, and get it early.
Yeah,
And
man.
not to
Hopefully
mention, inflation is going to be probably even worse by then. So we talking about tickets that cost $1 million.
$1 million. Wow, yes, that'd be crazy. Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll figure it out, brother. Like I said, we get the women's here, man. That'll be pretty cool, man. I'm pretty sure Atlanta will be on the short list of cities to host if we get the women here. Definitely want to, be a part of that because it's just, just as cool to, check them out as well, man. When they have it, obviously the United States women's team has been way more successful than our men's team, and also Banks the fact that the U.S. Soccer Federation is here in Atlanta now. They hope everything is here. The facility right down there in Fayetteville, so that's also exciting as well for U.S. soccer in general, man. Listen, all right, man, we're gonna keep it pushing, man. We're gonna keep it moving. Some other news here, Banks, man, just happened the other day. Some Atlanta Braves news that I thought was pretty cool. Long overdue. Andrew Jones inducted into the Hall of Fame. I was very, very excited, very, very proud about that. Now, listen, I didn't realize that Major League Baseball did their Hall of Fame inductions during the middle of the season. I was like, wait a minute, what? I mean, I remember we heard that he was going into the Hall of Fame and we thought that was pretty cool. I was like, man, for some reason, I'm thinking they do it like prior to the season. I just never really paid attention, but they just did it like a couple of days ago. Banks, I don't know if you're familiar with the whole, Cooperstown process, man, but man, I don't know. It was almost like it wasn't even, there was no pomp and circumstance, nothing surrounding like the whole Hall of Fame. It was actually baseball games going on or in the middle of while they were doing the Hall of Fame ceremony.
And that's the reason why, it doesn't get any big recognition because you're doing it right smack middle of the season. When they dropped the news about Andrew Jones, it was a moment. It's like about time, what took so long to get this man in there? And he's finally in there, and then a lot of people just like, oh, when did this happen? He's like, yeah, it happened yesterday. Where you been? But long overdue. Okay, Andrew Jones, well deserved. He should have been in there. I don't know what we were really talking about here. It's like what was the hang up? For me, I have no idea. The man was just only the best center fielder the Braves ever had in that era, and all of a sudden people just not recognize what kind of work he did. Listen, they knew it. They knew that he was supposed to have been in there, and then that makes it even worse that the fact that they know it and they still not in there. So, congrats, Andrew Jones. You are the center fielder that I will always remember in that stretch run, Mr. Jones. Yes, welcome to Cooperstown, brother.
Absolutely, man. Well deserved, man. Like I said, I don't know. Maybe Major League Baseball can get that figured out, man. And do it a little more justice, man, so people actually know. Like I said, us being sports heads, man, we knew that it was happening, but I just didn't know exactly when the ceremony was going to be. I mean, obviously, the NFL makes a whole weekend out of the Hall of Fame induction ceremony with an actual game. I don't even know how the NBA does it either. That's a good question too, Banks. We need to take a look at what the NBA actually
I'm
does
pretty
their
sure they
induction.
don't do it while the season is going. I'm pretty sure of it.
Yeah, I don't think so either. It's just a strange anomaly with baseball how they do theirs, man. But shout out to Andrew Jones and the Atlanta Braves. All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, Banks. We are here. We are now here. What seemed so far, far away just a couple of months ago, we are now here and it is upon us. That's why y'all see it. Y'all see the new Dirty Bird swag that we have on. Camp is here, man. Camp is here. Here we go. Like I just said, 43 days away from the regular season start. Whoo, we here. All right, all season talk, all the coaching changes, all the new personnel, all the new people. Now we about to this where the rubber meets the road up there at Flowery Branch. If you've been on social media, you've seen the players checking in, you've seen the players sign in, saw this weird thing where your boy Jesse Bates done shaved his beard. Don't know what that's all about. But they're checking in the Flowery Branch right now, and they getting ready to rock and roll, man, for camp. Banks, it's here, man. It is upon us. I see that you are now rocking your new swag. I see you finally decided to pull the trigger and get you the new jersey.
Well, it was no doubt about it. I was going to do it. Listen, I'm rocking it. I don't know, I might say I wasn't gonna get it at that time when it dropped, but I was gonna get it. It was no doubt about it. And I got a white one on his way as we speak. So yes, Leo, you know better than that. You know I was gonna get the new drip. And it didn't matter what it looked like, this is my team. I rocked the last one. I didn't care for nothing, didn't care nothing about it, but I wore it. So I mean, listen, when I saw that the rookies checking in at the training camp last week, I had to sit back. I was going through a lot with my family, and I was kind of detached from sports. I wasn't really thinking about sports, and it hit me, Lee. I was like, "Oh my God, it is that time." It's July, mid-July. Rookies are reporting, and then I had to do a little, calendar check. Brother, the Hall of Fame game is next week. Carolina and Arizona play next Thursday. You know what that means, don't you? There will be a football game every week from that point on. this is the last week we're gonna not have football. Like this is the last week. Like
I mean, well,
from
technically
here
there
on out.
was football. Canadians been playing. We did
Well,
have this.
well, I'm talking about NFL. I'm talking about NFL. NFL football. I always do a checkpoint. You know, when that Hall of Fame game, which is no one really cares about, but I care about it because it's a start. It's a flag where you say this is where it begins, and every weekend from here on out until February 14th will be a football game. Let that sink in for a second. We're talking about August 5th or something like that, all the way to February 14th. And we're gonna have football on our TV screens. So yes, Leo is here. And like I said, you could be excited or not, but we're here and it's football season.
Absolutely, man. And just before we start talking about the Falcons for just a little bit, man, I have to, if I'll be remiss, I got to remind everybody, it is what it is. It is what it is.
I don't know
Since
why
we're
you
here,
put that trash on the TV
since we're
for.
here,
I mean,
no, because
that's
somebody, this is for somebody the other day that wanted to say something to me about this. This is how I feel about it. So how I feel about it. So we're gonna keep it
I'm
moving. I'm
not.
not gonna entertain that no
I
more.
don't. I'm not going to ask for context because it's for the team it is. I can really care less. But the fact that you put it up there to prove a point, you don't have to say nothing because I already
Hey
know.
man.
I
Hey
already know how
man.
they operate.
Listen,
So
listen, listen, listen. You already you know it. Like I said, trash, straight trash. That's how we moving. That's how we doing it. We started out early. I said, we doing this early. We doing this early, huh? I said, okay, all right. We're gonna do it early then. I said, we'll do big trash talk. All right. For some reason, I guess that team down there in that boot, man, they feeling themselves like real quick. I'm like, man, y'all ain't proof. Listen, I know it's been a minute since we did something, but I mean, y'all in the same. Hey, y'all ain't did nothing in a minute. We a long way away from the last time y'all really saw some action. So, let me simmer back.
and for the people that are fans of that particular team and that you're watching this video, this show, please do not come contact me because you saw this. I don't want to hear it. I can care less. Let me tell you something. We are at the beginning of the season where we were cool when it's not football season. Listen here, I don't want to hear anything you got to say. Okay, keep your little backhanded compliments and trash talk to yourself because I do not want to hear it. And you know who you are because they come to me every single time about that damn team. I can care less. Okay, don't come for me unless I send for you.
Man, whatever, dude. Like I said, they could talk. That's all they could do is talk. And like I said, I can tell you how I feel about it. Big trash. It's always gonna be big trash when it comes to that team in the boot. But hey, we move on, moving right along. All right, Banks, man. Listen, so camp starting up, man, firing up, man. We'll talk about a couple of key things that are going on, man. The first, I guess, elephant in the room that we need to discuss and talk about today. We heard that Michael Penix, of course, is not medically cleared to, I guess, go full throttle in camp. I think we had this conversation and we talked about it throughout, the off season. When he had surgery, we knew he had to repair his ACL, third ACL tear in this young man's career here. The first one in this leg. It was like, where are we going to be? How are we going to get to where we are? We knew we were going to move away from Kirk Cousins, which we did. Insert now Tua Tagovailoa, who comes in from Miami. So Banks, let's talk about this for a minute and let's discuss it, man. I think at this point it's safe to say that I think that Tua will probably end up being our starter at the beginning of the season. For what it's worth, I mean, going in, you want to be healthy going into camp, and I think there is still some intrepidation with this injury and with the rehab of Michael Penix. I mean, he feels probably like he is ready, but there's a reason there are medical professionals on that staff to evaluate and take a look, and he's just not ready for contact, and he's not, ready to fully go. With that being said, Banks, man, your thoughts now with the possibility of Tua probably in all doubt that week one of the regular season that Tua Tagovailoa will probably be the starter for the Falcons.
I think it's a far gone conclusion. I think we all knew that going in. I think it was kind of a thing where we wanted to wait and see. We didn't want to put the cart before the horse and say it was Tua's job. But I think everyone deep down, I mean, even the talking heads would sit there and say, well, it's a possibility that Tua is week one until otherwise. I don't know. You want Penix to have a speedy recovery. But I don't think they're gonna rush him back. It was also said that Patrick Mahomes is cleared to play Week 1, and he was hurt after Penix. But everyone's body is different, so I mean you can't really go by that. But at the same time, it's like you kind of it draws you concerns about how does he heal from his injuries that he has. If it's not now, I mean, then I mean, what where are we talking about him coming back? Are we even talking about him coming back this season? So I mean, we don't know as of right now. Going to my gut feeling, like you just said, Leo, is that Week 1 is gonna probably be Tua, and we're gonna have to just play it week by week. Hopefully, it won't be a split situation where you got two quarterbacks, because I have a different feel about that. But hopefully, it will be Tua. I mean, and he takes the job and take about him, what they call it, bull by the horns, and then don't really don't let it go. And we go into bigger promising things.
I mean, absolutely, man. I feel as though Tua has some experience, man. I know a lot of people, mixed feelings, like you said, Banks, about this situation. I mean, listen, I'm pulling for the young cat, Michael Penix, man. I really am. I want to see him get a full shake at this, a full healthy shake at this for what it's worth. We just don't know. I mean, a lot of there was a lot of talk about the situation with him and his injuries, when he was drafted and coming in here, man. And it's just unfortunate that he's been through so much. I think he has a lot to prove, and he wants to do a lot. He has the ability to do so. So I don't know where that'll go, the experiment with him will go, and how this will end up. I have a lot of confidence in Tua if he is the man Week 1. I mean, he has a lot of experience and he showed a lot. Um, just couldn't really get over the hump down there in Miami for whatever reason. But we'll talk about it. There are some things here that he has in Atlanta that he didn't have in Miami, obviously. But there are going to be some growing pains, and there are going to be some things that they're going to have to do if they're going to be successful. Because I want to see them make a run for this division. Speaking of this division, Banks, I mean, this is still at this point, in my opinion, anybody's division, right? I mean, I think that even with everything going on with the Falcons right now, you can't really definitively say that there is a strong leader of this division. Like you gotta, like, oh man, I'm really scared of them, or we really, got to watch out for them. I think I don't want to say everybody's on the same playing field, but I want to say that, when we lace them up and we get out there, this is probably going to be a race all the way down to the end of the season, like it has been in the last several seasons. Am I right?
Yeah, I truly believe that. I mean, just last season, I mean, Carolina won with an 8-9 record. Okay, that particular reason why they won is they beat us twice. If we win one of those games, and it would have been another division winner. That's how close it was. You can't say the same. Going into this season that Carolina's the complete favorite. I mean, you don't know. I mean, in my opinion, I mean, you look at all four teams side by side by side by side. It's like you can make an argument for each team. You can say, yeah, Tampa can do it. Yeah, sure. New Orleans can do it. They ended the season pretty hot. Yeah, Carolina's can repeat the champion. Yeah, Atlanta can do it because they got a good roster. We don't know. I'm saying? Lace them up and see what happens. And it's funny you should say that going into this particular season. I don't believe that anybody on the outside of this division believes that there's a clear cut winner. Everybody in this division plays the AFC North. Everybody in this division play the NFC North. Everyone has pretty much the same thing they got to overcome on their schedule. It's all about executing. And I feel like, you talk about a team like New Orleans, a team like Carolina, a team like Tampa, what makes them better than what Atlanta's going to do, with this team that they play? Let's say, I don't know, throw a team out there, the Bears, or throw a team like the Ravens. I mean, what are you going to do different that the Falcons can't do? So yeah, like you said, it could be anybody's division. Absolutely. It's one of them things where it's like, damn, I wish we didn't play this team. I wish we didn't play this division. Damn, but it's like, well, they play them too. So that might be an advantage for the Falcons. We'll see. Going forward. This is basically I hate to say it, another 8-9, 9-8 kind of division winner. I really hope that somebody breaks through and kind of like be a team for once, but it might just be that particular season once again. 9-8, 8-9. It's not going to be like this for long, Leo. You
No,
know how
no,
the league changes.
it
I would
changes.
just wish that the Falcons took advantage of it when it was down. If the South is going to rise again, I feel like at one point, before it was the NFC West, it was the NFC South. I think I saw a stat where all four teams sent a team to the Super Bowl in a 10-year span. So I mean,
Yeah.
they were on top at one point. So it's gonna get that like that again. Just sit tight. Just hope we get our stuff together so we can be a part of that party. You feel me?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think, you just, made a valid point that, these divisions don't stay bottom feeders for long. Like I said, right now, the NFC West is the hot ticket for a minute. You could go back 10, 15 years. Well, Seattle, I remember in the NFC West made a run into the playoffs at 8-9 or something like that. I don't think they were playing 17 games, but they were like either, right at 500 or they were one game below 500 and they end up going to the playoffs. So yeah, it shifts, it ebbs and flows of things, man. And I think as we and the funny thing about it is, to your point, Banks, is that as each team, and if one team decides that it's going to assert itself as being the forerunner or the best team in the division, all the other teams follow suit, and it becomes very, very competitive. I remember a couple of years ago, obviously, you had Tampa, that Tom Brady comes to Tampa, everybody stepped their game up and made it a big dogfight. I mean, so it's going to go around. Like I said, I think everybody's going to get better, and I think everybody is going to compete at a high level. And what it does is, I hate to use these crazy analogies, but iron does sharpen iron to a certain extent, is because like when you get into a division that is so good and we beat up on one another and there's good talent on everybody's roster of your division, you go out and you play these non-divisional games, man, and you start dog walking people, because it's like, man, shoot, we just played like, one of the best teams in the NFL last week. Now we over here playing, who the Green Bay Packers. Is like, okay, now we gonna dog walk them, man, because we were just in the dog fight with Tampa because they're so good, their roster is so set. But yeah, we got to get back to it. I don't think we're there yet with this division, wide open. I think once we get this thing started, and I think it's going to come down to the end to a dogfight virtually, and I hope we end up scrapping our way to win a division. It's been long overdue, man. We're talking about 9 years removed, man, since we've been to postseason play, and we definitely want to host a playoff game. You were talking about how exciting it was and how loud it was in Mercedes-Benz during the World Cup. We have not yet to experience an actual play. We remember the playoff games in the Georgia Dome, man, and how just electric they were there. Some just great playoff games over in the Georgia Dome, man, and some playoff games over Atlanta Fulton County Stadium as well. But we have yet to experience that in Mercedes-Benz. I think Banks, the fans getting to experience a playoff game in Mercedes-Benz will be absolutely banana, right?
It's beyond time. I mean, I think we as a franchise, this team deserves some type of something positive to go their way. For the past 8, 9 seasons, man, it's just been kind of like this. It's been just mid. And it's like either you're not good enough or you're not bad enough, and it's like it's just not a spot you want to be in. It's like be one or the other. Either be good or just be bad. Don't put me, keep take me on this little mid track. And it's like, what are we doing? It's like, it's feel like we're not doing anything. It's just going by status quo.
Standing still. We're
But
just standing
but
still.
listen, I feel like, everyone keeps saying hosting a playoff game. I just want a playoff berth, period. I mean, even if we are the visiting team, I think that will go a long way to get something started. It's like you just need something to bust that door in, if we can get that done, I feel like that's a start, with this group right here that we have currently. Yes, we would love to host a playoff game. I definitely would, but just give me any kind of playoff, anything. I think they can play on the train tracks. I can really care less as long as they in there, you feel me? So I mean, let's get something started.
But like you said though, Banks, here's the thing. I think the clear and direct path to the playoffs is winning your division, which will give you a home game. I think that other divisions in the NFC are tough enough to where they're going to be some teams fighting for a wild card spot, and that's gonna and be in a lot better position. I think like the NFC South has been in the past. Like the NFC West is locked and loaded, man. They got everybody out there is a killer in the NFC West, right? Well, with the exception of Arizona, but man, so hold on story. I mean, the NFC North, you got some teams, on the bounce back. The Bears were in the playoffs last year. Obviously, Green Bay, they don't go away. We have to see what a new look Minnesota will look like as well up there in the NFC North. So, every division is going to probably, I think, feel, probably a little better competition and better records than what we're going to see possibly in the NFC South. But you never know until you lace them up. Like you said, we have to lace them up and see where the chips fall, man. So definitely looking forward to that. Listen, so now that camp is underway, we just talked about the quarterback position, and we just talked about, we really wanted a true old-fashioned, quarterback competition, but it looks like that's not going to be the case. It could be. We just have to wait and see and see how this thing all shakes out and folds out. Let's talk about a couple of other positions that, we're excited about or we're looking forward to, man, moving towards the start of the regular season. We know that we've locked up Kyle Pitts, Drake London. They will be here. They'll be a part of this offense with whoever is behind center, and also with the young man, Bijan Robinson. Listen, Banks, I don't know about you, but I feel like whoever's under center can be very, very comfortable with those three guys on the field with them, man. There's a lot, of course, there's a lot to discuss and digest when you start talking about certain players, Kyle Pitts, and to where they're going to perform and to what level they're going to perform. Also, with the additions of Zachariah Branch, who we drafted from Georgia, and some of the other acquisitions that we picked up on the offense, man, I think it's safe to say that from a personnel standpoint, man, right now, that offensively, man, we're going to be okay. Like offensively, there are some weapons there to compete, I think, with anybody in this league.
Yeah, I feel like it's on paper. I feel like we can compete. You know what I'm saying? It's still the jury's out on that wide receiver room. I was kind of I was kind of mid with seeing Drake London, then the rest. It's like, okay, then you bring in Zachariah Zacchaeus back. Not Zachariah, Dominus Zacchaeus. Excuse me, his name. Forgive me, but he's back, and then you brought in what's his name, Dotson. I don't know anything
the
about
Dotson
him.
from the Eagles. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you drafted Zachariah Branch, and I'm just like, okay, so what are we doing with this? We don't know how Branch is going to play. We saw him play, USC. We saw him play in Georgia, but how that's going to translate to the pros, we don't know. So we just hoping that he can produce. He'd be electrified for the wide receiver room. I don't know. I know what Drake's going to bring. Um, I'm not going to talk about the tight end room. That's going to be another show. I can vent later on that. We know what we got in number 7. We got probably one of the greatest running back. No, he is the greatest running back in the league, and he's on our team. And for one, I can sit there and say, damn, I'm proud to know that people got to prepare for him, and we don't have to prepare for him. We know what we got with him. We don't have to talk about that. We can talk about.
It's funny. It's funny that you bring that up, Banks. Hold on. Let me not to cut you off, but there is a sentiment around the league, and I've talked and discussed this with some of my fellow fans as well, that there is some disrespect when it comes to Bijan Robinson and him being a top tier running back in this league. For what it's worth, man, he wasn't even in the 99 club in Madden. I mean, if that's your measuring stick as to how good he is, he wasn't even in the 99 club in Madden. But didn't lead. I don't think he led the league in rushing. I mean, we know what he could do from an athletic and a physical standpoint. There are some other running backs that you could put up. You got Jonathan Taylor, I think, up there in Indianapolis, Jahmyr Gibbs in Detroit, obviously. The running back that just got paid in Miami. You can talk about Cook up in Buffalo. Like when you start looking at statistics and overall performance, man, is Bijan really in that category? I'm biased and I'm going to say yes. I have said it and I will say it and I will die on that hill until, he does not perform anymore. That Bijan Robinson is the cream of the crop in the top echelon running back in this league. He's the benchmark. What do you say to fans that don't feel that way? That feels like, it's just some flash or some hype, or Could it be just the fact that the team, the organization that he's playing for? Because we've seen that a lot where you have great players, but then the people are kind of mid on the organization that they're playing on, and they don't get the praise and the due that they should get.
I think it's a mixture of both. I think for what the team he plays for, had he played for the Eagles or he played for anybody else that was, winning at the time, then he will get a little bit more accolades. Listen, go talk to Buffalo, go talk to the Rams about how of a player he is. They're gonna tell you different. Okay, that man put that team on skates. Okay, he made a mockery of that team on national TV. Both of them. And I don't have to remind people, just pull it up on highlights if you don't remember what he did to Buffalo or what he did to the Rams. He single-handedly beat them by himself. And let me tell you something. For the ones that say that he's just another running back, listen, he's the reason why he's number one in what the fantasy drafts all across in the nation. He goes number one, and he's going number one this year. I don't care about what his ratings are on a video game of Madden. I mean, people still gonna use him. I guarantee you. You know what I'm saying? I bet you they gonna find a way to put that particular player on their favorite team. They do it all the time. I mean, listen, if that's what your measuring stick is about a Madden rating, then okay, fine. We'll run with that. But I know in real life, he that dude. I know
Yeah,
that. I know
yeah,
that. And there's no
absolutely.
Madden rating in real life. So all I know is when it comes to when they sing that national anthem and they lace them up, you got to prepare for number 7. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Absolutely. Which brings us to the great point of, hey, listen, they're gonna be keying in on him, man. This is what year 4 with him now, and I think a lot of teams are gonna be like, hey, we're not gonna let number 7 beat us, right? Which is weird to say because it's been like that number 7 position has been like we can't let that number 7 beat us for a minute with the Falcons. I thought of something back to the subject that we're on. Yeah, we can't let number 7 beat us. So that's where is the next person on the roster going to step up? Like you said, is it going to be an Olamide Zaccheaus who's back with the Falcons now? Is it going to be a Kyle Pitts that'll finally have that breakout year that we've been looking for? Is it going to be Drake London? You know what I'm saying, putting it on his back like Julio used to do back in the day? Like, because we know that teams are going to come out, man, load up the box on running downs and say, hey, man, Bijan is not going to do this to us. They've watched the film. They've watched the tape. They don't want to be on a highlight reel. They've seen the camera at the top of the Mercedes Benz. Him, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, putting people on skates, man. So I think there's going to be an emphasis on trying to, and you can do it. It's a matter of if you can. Like you can make it all about trying to stop them, but can you actually do it? That's gonna be the thing, because you see him cornered up, bottled up, and all of a sudden he gets just a little crack of daylight, and now he's going up the field. So it's gonna be very interesting to see, man. Outside of Bijan, though, Banks, man, before we move over to the defense, we know about the Kyle Pitts situation. We don't have to beat that dead horse to death, right? Obviously, Drake London is a formidable wide receiver in this league. I mean, I think that he got paid, and there are a lot of people that were or in their feelings about him getting his money. But we talked about Zach. I think for me, it's going to be Zachariah Branch and how they're going to be able to utilize him. I think that he is a pure talent. He's a pure athlete, and I think that he could be used in a number of ways. It was great to watch Georgia and watch what he did at Georgia, and I think at times Bobo did a great job of just getting him in space and letting him do what he does best. Getting out there, he was returning punts, and then get him out there on screens, bubble screens, however they could to get the ball in his hands to make sure he can make plays and do things that he needed for Georgia. Do you think that this brain trust offensively is looking at him in the same way? I know a lot of people have kind of said he's a poor man, Tyreek Hill, which I don't like to do those kind of comparisons because the man ain't even played in the NFL yet. So do you feel like the brain trust, man, is really kind of gearing up to put him in these situations in open space to get him the ball and let him do what he does athletically?
I hope so, man. I hope if we got some kind of plan for him. I'm hearing a lot of people saying, well, maybe he would be our kickoff return specialist, our punt, excuse me, our punt return specialist, and maybe we get some bubble screens out there, some slant and goes, and maybe he can get out there and release some of that pressure from Drake and Kyle Pitts and Bijan. If he's that much of a weapon, man, we got to keep him on the field. You know what I'm saying? I hope, you know, I hope this particular coaching staff sees this weapon that we have, or hopefully that we have, and utilize them correctly. I'm not going to talk about the last coaching regime, how they utilize certain, players and everything. That's somebody else's problem. I'm not going to beat that dead horse. But what I am going to do is, put, some hope and confidence in this current regime that we have, what I'm saying? And here's to putting a fit in other defensive coordinators out there, and do what you got to do, and make it hard for these teams to just zero in on one person, and then that's it. We don't have another weapon out there. I was tired of that nonsense last year. I'm saying, let's do something different. Let's get creative out there. That's all I want, is creativity, and get these players out there and making plays.
Absolutely, man. I feel the same way, man. Let's see something. And I think that's part of the reason that you have a new regime in, is to see what we can do a little bit differently, offensively and on the other side of the ball. Speaking of the other side of the ball, let's talk about defense. Obviously, Brick is coming back. He'll be in charge of the defense, man. Got a lot of new faces over there on that defense. But one of the things that I hang my hat on, Banks, as to coin, one of your phrases that you like to use, is the fact that the faces that we have coming back are guys that we can depend on and we can rely on. We know what they can do. We know what they're about. We know what the AJ Terrells are about. We know what the Jesse Bates are about. Xavier Watts is coming back, obviously with the addition of Avion Terrell. He's coming in, and I think he's going to make an immediate impact, because right now we're going to need a slot corner, and he's going to probably fight for that position. I know Billy Bowman is still rehabbing, coming off of the Achilles tear. Also, you got Clark Phillips, who's basically on his this is his last leg, in the league right now. Well, not, I won't say in the league, but with the Falcons, man. He was an undersized corner that came out of Utah, very athletic, but we just hadn't seen what we wanted to see out of him competition wise with the Falcons. We lost Dee Alford, obviously, up to Buffalo. He moved on. Where it gets kind of shaky and kind of murky on this defense is the linebacker position. Obviously, we lost Caden Ellis. We get Divine Diablo. He was coming back. He was injured most of last season. So that's kind of murky right now, the linebacker core. Then you move up to the front, to the defensive line. It's even a little more murkier. You got guys like Dorless that'll be coming back. We still don't know the fate of James Pierce, where that's going to lie in the season, because we know at some point there will be a decision made, early, middle, late. We don't know, or none at all. We just don't know. I think that in these situations, the league has said that they do something, but we just don't know when it's going to happen. The utility knife of sorts is that of my man here, number 11, my boy Walker, and what Jeff Ulbrich said. Him learning everything that he can do. I think he's probably going to be the difference maker in the impact on the defense if we can, utilize him in the places that could best suit his abilities athletically. Banks, a lot of people are talking about this defense, and they're a little nervous. But when you look at this defense, man, I think that it's still solid. What do you say about the personnel and what we got going on defense as we move into camp?
Well, all I know is defense is. I'm actually more excited, more than watching the offense. I hate to say it, because I've always been an offense kind of guy, watching the offense out there. But for once, I can sit there and say what Jeff Ulbrich has done with this defense has got me intrigued. Listen, remember last season when Divine Diablo had went out for injury, and it seemed like the defense fell off a cliff, and it's like, was it that one guy what made a difference for our defense? It's like, surely goodness, it wasn't just one guy keeping that defense together, and then when he came back, once again, they looked different. So yes, I want to say, Diablo was the glue for that defense, man, and I'm really excited to see what he can do with the guys that we got coming in for, Ojulari. The what's the other cat we got? I can't think, his name escapes me. But we
I think it's
brought him
like
in.
Christian Harris, if I'm not mistaken.
Christian Harris is another guy we got. It's another guy we got on that defensive line also. But what I'm saying is, to bringing them all these guys back, I'm curious to see what Ulbrich is going to do with these guys. With um with his, with his tutelage, coaching these guys up. I mean, a lot of these guys gotta prove it kind of thing. Or they want to show everybody that they still got it, and I'm I'm intrigued to see, I don't have no the back end, with the safeties in the corners. I'm good with them, Jesse Bates and White. We gonna be out there. We're gonna be busting heads out there, catching them picks and everything. It's the guys up front that I'm kind of I'm not nervous about it, but I'm kind of intrigued to see what's gonna happen. We lost okay, I can't say his name.
David Onyemata.
Onyemata. Onyemata.
Onyemata.
And that you brought in that dude Smith from the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I have no clue what we're going to expect from this kid. I'm kind of like, guess I'd have to sit back and wait because I don't know. What I'm saying? That defensive line is what basically pull your hair out sometimes when you need to make a stop on them third and shorts, and you can't do it because that line is getting pushed back, and it's like, good grief. Just give me somebody that's gonna just be on that line and to solidify you're not crossing this line. That's all I want. And if that's the guys right here, you talking about Dorless, if he's gonna take that crown and being that captain for that line, let's go. You know what I'm saying? This dude had almost 10 sacks, I believe, last season, and no one ever heard of the kid. I kept my eyes on him. And for me, I like what he brings to that defensive line. I don't know what's going to happen to James Pierce Jr. I'm hoping for the best. And they haven't made an announcement about any punishment going down the pike or anything, but I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that he's. I think he's there. I want to say I'm not for certain if he's there or
Yeah.
not, but
Yeah, no, he's at camp. He'll be at
okay.
camp.
I'm just hoping for the best for him. Hopefully, it won't be too severe. But if he is in there and he's pick up where he left off, I'm ready to go. With
I
that,
mean, yeah,
you talk
there's,
about
if he's on the field, I think that he's a guy that I don't think will fall off. I mean, just his natural
no.
ability alone. When you talk about James Pierce Jr., man, he has all the natural ability and attributes, and I think it will only get better. The scary part is if we can keep him from crashing out or doing whatever he does. Everybody, makes mistakes. I get it, and hopefully he'll learn from this and he'll be better from it. But just watching him last year, just his physical ability, just raw talent only, because this was his first year in the NFL. Like if you're good like that your first year, it's only, in my opinion, you go up from there. I think that a lot of what he did last year was just basic instinct and raw ability, because it takes a while. I think learning the NFL and learning how to do things in the defenses that you operate, and just learning the NFL period. It takes a couple of years before you are locked in as to how you can really reach your full potential. So as a rookie, man, to see him do what he did, man, I don't think there's a drop off. His strength definitely isn't going anywhere. His physical ability definitely isn't going anywhere. His mindset definitely isn't going anywhere. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. Jalen Walker, man, he did a lot. I mean, obviously, I think going into the season early, there was some injuries with him, hamstrings and stuff that kind of kept and limited his camp and preseason numbers. But we saw him do a lot of things. I mean, he made some plays. And one thing about the defense, man, sometimes you got to do some dirty work, man. You got to set some edges. You got to do things that a lot of the average fan isn't going to see. Like, yeah, Jalen didn't get that tackle or he didn't get that sack, but did you see him set the edge on the run and have the running back have to cut back in for support? You know what I'm saying? Did you see him? You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad you said that, Leo. I mean, for me, and I don't know if it's a bad thing, but do you feel that Jalen Walker is kind of like been forgotten? I'm not saying, like, I'm talking about, just in general from the fan base and from the media and just in general, like people just don't talk about him. It's like, it's not like he's bad or he's just not a good player. It's just like, damn, we just forgot he was there, but he's making plays out there. It's like you see it and you can tell that he can be that captain, he can be that dude. And I don't think he get his just due. I feel like people still wants to talk about, the James Pierce Jr. And there's nothing wrong with that. But they don't talk about Jalen Walker like they should. And I feel like maybe that can only be a good thing for him going forward. He can be that quiet assassin. He go out there, like you said, set that edge. You know what I'm saying? You forgot that he did that, but he makes plays happen that he wasn't a part of. You understand what I'm saying? Like he
Yeah.
made that play happen, and people break down film. It's like, okay, damn, Lumby Levin did do that. It's like, yeah, he's on our team. Walker is a player. He's a dog on our team, and he doesn't get that recognition that I think a lot of people needs to acknowledge, especially when you talk about Falcons defense.
Man, listen, I think if anybody, any fan with a real football IQ can understand that he played a major role in the defense last year, man. I think a lot of, what the defense was able to accomplish was high in part to what he was able to do. And Jeff Ulbrich even admitted that he was still trying to find ways to get him more involved, to make more, impact plays for us to see. Like, so he made it a point to say, hey, expect to see more out of Jalen, because I'm just not learning what he can do and where we can put him on the field and some of the things that we can get him involved in, man. So, first year in the league, it's a learning process for not only the players but the coaches as well. You have to learn your personnel, what they're able to do, and the situations that you could put them in. I think Jeff Ulbrich, man, is a great defensive mind. And here's the thing: Jeff Ulbrich played linebacker in the NFL, so if anything, man, he understands that position, and he'll be able to help Jalen develop a lot more, to get him to where we need him. And he's there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, I don't think he's a project guy. Jalen is a guy that's going to be reckoned with in this league for some time to come. I mean, there's nothing for him to prove. He's putting in work, his first year, and I think he'll continue to do that. And there's nothing wrong with being a blue collar, lunch pail type player on defense. I mean, everybody's not going to have 150 tackles. Everybody's not going to have 10 sacks. But, when you're out there setting the edge, when you're out there doing the things that are asked of you, when you're dropping back in coverage, when you're covering the flats and doing those things, like, hey, you're contributing to your team, you're contributing to the defense, and you're doing what you need to do, man. So, I think there's a lot of upside with Jalen, just like I feel like with James Pierce Jr. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do this season, man, and seeing what this defense will pull. So, listen, Banks, we're at the top of we're at the mark. Obviously, we're back to football, so there's going to be a lot of talk moving forward into the season, man. We'll start having some more discussion as information and news comes out of camp. Obviously, we'll get a chance to talk about our assessments when it comes to the preseason, because we'll definitely be tuned in and locked in, watching those preseason games and seeing how the personnel shakes out and who does what there, and then moving into our Falcons actual preview that we do every year right before the season starts, where we'll actually give our assessment as fans as to what we expect and what we actually see and what we think will actually happen. Full throttle for that. And if you want to be a part of that, man, hit us up and let us know. Obviously, we're open to anybody to come in and discuss it, man, as we do every year with our Falcons season preview. All right, Banks, man, we've hit the mark, man. Let everybody know where they can catch up with you, brother. I know you've been busy, man, but let everybody know where they can catch up with you.
You can find me Antoine Jarrell Banks on Facebook, or Baby Banks 80 on Instagram.
Absolutely, man. You can always catch us on all our social media platforms, ATL3 Style. That's everywhere where you're on social media. We'll be there. You know what I'm saying? Like and subscribe our YouTube channel. Also, if you're over there on Twitch, you know what I'm saying, subscribe to us over there on Twitch. Shout out to everybody over there. Shout out to everybody that's, hit us up. Instagram, you know what I'm saying? People that's been hitting us up over there as well, man. So, hey, man, it's been real. Football is back, so it's a lot to talk about, Banks. On the next episode, I think we'll have to kick in some what's going on with Atlanta United. Obviously, we didn't get a chance to talk about that tonight, but, there's a lot to digest there. Couldn't get that out. It's a lot to digest with what's going on over in Atlanta United land. Hopefully, we'll bring, Reg back, some people to talk about that, because it's concerning as an Atlanta sports fan, man. It is concerning to see what's going on over there. And I think it needs to be discussed and to try to figure out moving forward how this is going to work, because we've thrown some stuff here at this wall over the last several years and it just hadn't stuck. And we hadn't been back to the team that we once were in the early parts of the organization. So definitely have to come back and talk about that, man.
Okie dokie. I want to also want to go back to these birds, man, with these rookies, man. These rookies that we drafted. The Harold Perkins and on the defensive side. So guys I want to really, really have more conversation about. I feel like they're gonna have a bigger impact on this defense that we did get a chance to touch on. But yes, yes, the Atlanta United needs to be discussed. Something's going on in that, and it's not something that I'm really feeling. And it's something's got to shake, brother. And it's getting to the point where they're very forgettable.
Yeah. We'll talk about it definitely on the next episode. And obviously, yes, we will more Falcons discussion as camp starts, and we'll get more reports and more news out of Flowery Branch every day, man, moving forward. Like you said, football is back, man. You know, as of next Thursday, man, we'll have a football game all the way up into February, man. So we'll be excited about it as we usually are. And also we'll be getting ready to be in the bins, and we'll be getting ready to tailgate with the Falconers all over again as we do it for
Oh,
another season
and
with the
shout out
Falcons.
to the stadium crew that actually transformed the stadium back into
To
Mercedes
Mercedes
Benz.
Benz.
And
Absolutely.
it took just 24 hours, and it like nothing never happened. It's like what the hell happened to,
Atlanta
Atlanta
Stadium.
Stadium? It's no longer Atlanta Stadium. It is now Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Congrats to all those stadium staffs who made that happen, and they did it quickly. Congrats to you.
Absolutely. All right, man. It's been another edition of the ATL 3 Style Podcast Live. All right.